Waitress Humiliated by Billionaire, the shocking twist that changed her life forever. The crowd in the upscale restaurant gasped as the atmosphere crackled with tension. A hush fell over the room, the clinking of glasses and the soft murmur of conversations vanishing like smoke. An awkward silence hovered when Sophia, a humble waitress with dreams carved from the grease of the kitchen, was caught in the crosshairs of catastrophe. Billionaire tycoon Nathan Blackwood, known for his ruthless ways and sharp suits, had his gaze locked onto her. The gold glints of his cufflinks caught the light, drawing attention like a magnet to a nail. Sophia's heart raced, its rhythm throbbing in her ears like a kettle about to boil over. She was just doing her job, carrying a tray loaded down with appetizers that seemed to weigh as much as her dreams. But today felt different. Just as she approached, her foot caught on an unseen snag. Time seemed to stretch painfully, the floor rising up to meet her as she crashed into Nathan's table, the delicate porcelain shattering like promises she couldn't keep. Gasps erupted, leaving a sting in the air heavier than the embarrassment sealing her fate. Nathan's expression darkened, brows furrowing like storm clouds about to unleash fury. Murmurs rippled among the dining elite, their faces painted with a mix of shock and a sick sort of intrigue. This was not just a simple accident. No, this was pure scandal brewing in the heart of that extravagant restaurant, where fortunes sang, and chaos danced like a criminal on the fringes. In that moment, Sophia felt a knot tighten in her chest, panic clawing at her throat. Was this how her story would end? Like shattered glass beneath designer shoes, as Nathan shoved his chair back, the wooden leg screeched against the floor like a warning. "You think you can just serve me like this?" he barked, his voice slicing through the air. A chill washed over the crowd, it was as if the restaurant itself held its breath, waiting for the storm to break. Sophia stood frozen, the world closing in around her, the scent of rich food turning rancid in her nostrils. Was it any wonder she felt the eyes of 100 judgmental glances piercing her skin? The rich and famous loved a tragedy, didn't they? Before we continue, I need to tell you something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to their system and many people are missing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and select all notifications so you don't miss future videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. Just then, a sharp voice broke through the tension, cutting through like a knife. "You have no idea who you're talking to," a man shouted from the back. The crowd turned its gaze, shocked by the interruption. Sophia's heart leapt to her throat. What did he mean? Maybe, just maybe, Nathan wouldn't get to humiliate her after all. Or would he unleash his fury on the new challenger? The air swirled with electricity as the tension thickened, every eye trained on the escalating drama unfolding. Sophia felt desperation creep in, mixing with the hope flickering like a candle. What might happen next felt like a live wire, ready to snap at any moment. This could change everything, but how? The sudden voice echoed through the stillness like a gunshot. Every head turned, eyes wide with a mix of shock and curiosity. Sophia's heart raced, bouncing with confusion and a flicker of hope. Who was this man? Why did he seem so powerful, so sure amidst the growing chaos? Nathan's glare cut like ice, and his brows knitted together as he stood, towering over the table. "You think you can just," he began, but the man interrupted with a dismissive wave of his hand. "Shut it, Blackwood. You don't scare me," the newcomer said, his stance almost defiant. He wore a casual black leather jacket that contrasted sharply with the opulence of the restaurant, yet he exuded an undeniable aura of authority. Whispers circulated among the patrons. A few rich faces twisted in disdain, their luxurious worlds unaccustomed to such rebellion. Sophia felt her pulse quicken. Perhaps this was her chance. Maybe this stranger could change the course of her humiliation. Her eyes darted between Nathan's furious expression and the confident stance of the man defending her. Just then, the room crackled with tension as Nathan took a step toward the stranger. You want to play hero? Nathan challenged, his voice low and dripping with condescension. What, are you his savior? He's just a waitress. The last word dripped with disdain, each syllable punctuating the class gap, but the man stood his ground. Her name is Sophia, and she deserves better than to be treated like trash. His voice was steady, filled with a fierce protectiveness that reverberated through the nervous crowd. Sophia blinked, her breath caught in her throat. Was this really happening? Would someone finally stand up for her? Why don't you do everyone a favor and just walk away, Nathan? The man pressed, his tone unwavering. You think your money gives you power over people? It makes you pathetic. Gasps flew up from the surrounding tables, eyes wide with intrigue as the power play escalated. Nathan's lips curled into a sneer, teeth bared like a shark. You have no idea who you're dealing with, do you? I could ruin you in a heartbeat, he warned, each word laced with threat. The challenge hung in the air, taut and expectant. The tension was palpable, electrifying the whole restaurant. Patrons exchanged glances, some nudging each other in anticipation, others clutching their drinks like shields against the unfolding drama. Sophia could hardly breathe as she watched the showdown. Her mind raced with what it all meant. Could this guy really stand up to Nathan? And who was he, anyway? In the back of her mind, fear and hope collided. Try me, the man shot back, his eyes gleaming with something fiery. You think you're invincible? Let us see how invincible you are when the world sees the real you. With that, everything shifted. The tension that had momentarily paralyzed the crowd transformed into a whirlwind of whispers and gasps. Conversations buzzed below the surface, and the energy in the room pulsed like a drumbeat. Sophia found herself caught in the eye of the storm, emotions both bewildering and exhilarating swirling within her, and just then, a flicker of doubt pierced through her hope. What if things didn't go the way she envisioned? Would her life become even more entangled in the web of Nathan's wrath? Sophia's thoughts spiraled as she faced the enigma of this strange hero who had defended her. The grip of uncertainty tightened like a noose around her neck. Would she walk away from this shattered moment empowered, or would she incur Nathan's complete fury? As the standoff intensified, the stakes felt impossibly high. For a moment, she dared to dream. But was it worth the risk? With hearts pounding and the outcome hanging in limbo, everyone awaited the next move. The sudden silence was deafening, the drama poised to erupt. What would happen next would change everything forever. Sophia's heart hammered in her chest. She could feel every single face in the restaurant fixed on the confrontation. The air crackled with electricity, a dangerous tension hanging like a storm cloud. Nathan's sneer deepened, clearly irked by this unexpected challenge to his authority. And what do you think you can do, stranger? You think everyone cares about your brave little speech? His voice dripped with contempt. The surroundings faded into a blur of color and sound as fear coiled inside Sophia like a serpent, but the stranger remained undeterred. You're wrong, the man replied, his voice steady. I can expose you for the fraud you are. Everyone here knows your little games. You throw money around, thinking you can wipe away your sins. It ends tonight. Sophia's mind spun. Did he know something about Nathan? The thought sent a thrill through her, intermingling with her terror. Nathan's face twisted, darkening with an unmasked fury. Around them, whispers became a cacophony, patrons craning their necks to catch every word, every expression. Everyone loves a good spectacle, Blackwood, the man continued, his voice rising above the din, but I'll give them a show they won't forget. You're not invincible, and it's high time someone brought you down to earth. As the word settled in the air, Sophie's stomach churned. The stranger's confidence was magnetic, yet Nathan's threatening demeanor loomed like a shadow. Would this audacious act lead to liberation or catastrophe? You're making a big mistake. Nathan leaned closer, his voice dripping with a menacing whisper that only the stranger could hear. You think your cheap talk means something? You have no idea how far I can reach. I can ruin not just you, but anyone you care about. The man's jaw tightened, revealing a flicker of vulnerability. You will not intimidate me, Blackwood. I've seen the effect you have on people and enough is enough. Sophia felt a rush of warmth. The stranger, this brave warrior against tyranny, seemed unyielding. Yet, Nathan was a formidable foe. The eye of the storm began to shift, and she could almost sense the ground breaking beneath them. Just then, Nathan's expression turned cold steel, his eyes narrowing dangerously. A low rumble of laughter erupted from one corner of the room. A woman, impeccably dressed with a sharp wit, leaned forward. Oh, this is rich. Someone wants to school the almighty Nathan. Please. Her voice rang out, mocking, echoing through the restaurant. Sophia risked a glance at the accuser. Unfazed by the laughter, the man remained composed, his gaze still locked on Nathan. Watch and learn, everyone. The truth will outlast all your wealth and power, he declared, his eyes fierce with determination. That a soft gasp pierced the crowd, sliced through the tension. Nathan's sunny disposition had faded into a snarl, exposing a world that surrounded him but remained out of reach. You think you can take me down? His voice lowered, dangerously quiet. If you think this is a game, you're dead wrong. And there it was, a clash of titans, power and pride swirling like a tempest. Sophia felt it too. This was a fight not just for herself, but for everyone Nathan had ever belittled. But as the bout escalated, she watched with bated breath. What would happen when the dust settled? Would justice prevail, or would Nathan's wrath envelop them all in an unforgiving darkness? Then, from the back of the restaurant, a phone rang out, a shrill, sharp sound shattering their tension. All heads turned. The stranger's poise faltered momentarily, revealing a flash of concern. I have to take this, he murmured to Sophia, his voice barely above a whisper. Her heart dropped. Was this a misstep? Did he really have to leave now? With chaos brewing and uncertainty swirling in the air, the sense of urgency thickened. What awaited both of them? And what news could shatter the friction in the atmosphere? What lay on the other end of that call? The stranger stepped back, his eyes darting toward the ringing phone as if it held the answers to all the chaos unfolding around them. I promise I'll be right back, he said, forcing a reassuring smile that didn't quite reach his eyes. He turned sharply, moving toward the back entrance, weaving through the tables as patrons watched with hushed tension. Sophia felt the world tilt. What are you doing? She whispered, desperate to snag his attention, but he was already gone, swallowed by the chaos behind the bar. Nathan's cold gaze returned to her, sharper than ever. Looks like your knight in shining armor can't stay for the show, he sneered. You should take this opportunity to run while you still can. Or are you planning to join him in the back and hide? Her heartbeat drummed louder, drowning out the murmurs buzzing around her. The entire restaurant felt alive, each breath a mix of anticipation and dread. Nathan stood before her, a vulture waiting to swoop down for the kill. She straightened, trying to hold her ground despite the fear that turned her insides to ice. Believe it or not, Nathan, some people care more about integrity than posturing as a king in this castle, she shot back, her voice quaking but resolute. That he stepped forward, invading her space, and for a moment, she imagined just how cruel he could be if he wanted to. Integrity doesn't build empires, Sophia. Wealth does. Remember that. Before she could respond, the mad vibrations of activity shifted as the stranger re-emerged from the back, phone pressed to his ear and a look of disbelief crossing his features. The laughter in the restaurant faded into a whisper, all eyes now on him. The tension built like a living entity, palpable and unforgiving. No, 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 he muttered into the phone, his face paling. This can't be happening. I'll come down right away. Nathan's eyes glimmered with amusement as a manic gleam ignited in his expression. Well, well. It seems our brave hero has some pressing matters to attend to. When the going gets tough, right? His laughter bounced off the walls, a wicked sound that sliced through the tension. Sophia's stomach twisted at the sight of the stranger's shoulders slumping, burdened, as if someone had just placed a weight on him that he couldn't shake off. In that split second, she guessed he must be tied to something far bigger than a brawl with Nathan. "What's wrong?" she called, her fear morphing into concern. His gaze met hers, and for a fleeting moment, the storm around them muted. She saw unshed panic brim behind his eyes. "There's been an incident," he said, his voice barely above a whisper. "At the company's something bad. I need to go." A collective gasp arose from the crowd, clawing over Nathan's commanding presence. "What kind of incident?" A voice piped up from the back, but it was drowned out by the clamor of other patrons, thirsting for information. The stranger took a step toward Nathan, then faltered. "Lives are at risk. It's bigger than us. I have to," but Nathan leaned in, relishing in the moment. "I can't wait to see how this unfolds. It looks like we aren't done entertaining each other." A sense of urgency overtook Sophia. The paradox of their surroundings loomed. It was a glamorous restaurant setting, yet the stakes felt more dangerous than an infamy-tailored duel. She wanted to scream, to drag the stranger away from the impending chaos Nathan conjured as his power played at in that moment. She made a pivotal choice. "No," she said with surprising strength as she stepped forward, drawing on every ounce of courage. "We need to face this together. Whatever this is, it's not just about you." He turned, surprise coloring his expression, igniting a flicker of hope in her heart. "Are you sure?" Without looking back at Nathan, she nodded, determination coiling in her gut. "Let us do this. Let us expose him and figure out what's happening." But would they be walking into a trap? And what if the danger waiting their way was worse than they could imagine? As they made their way toward Nathan, the weight of the crowd pressed at their backs, whispering a million what-ifs. In the back of her mind, one thought echoed louder than the others: what would they uncover next? The air crackled with tension as Sophia and the stranger approached Nathan. He stood there, a crooked smile stretching across his lips, relishing the moment like a cat playing with a mouse. "This is rich," he said, voice dripping with mockery. "The little waitress thinks she can play hero. What's your plan? Deliver an ultimatum while whipping up a souffle?" "Enough," the stranger interjected, stepping forward, resolve blossoming in his voice. "We're not playing games here, Nathan. Lives are at stake." For a split second, Nathan looked taken aback, the glimmer of his amusement fading into something darker. "Is that so?" he drawled, his tone now heavy, each word wrapped in danger. "Then perhaps you should have thought of that before you wandered back here, uninvited." The restaurant erupted in whispers, patrons shifting anxiously in their seats as the reality of the situation seeped in. Sophia could feel their eyes piercing her, judging her decision to stand against Nathan. "I won't let you intimidate him," she said, her voice stronger than she felt. She faced Nathan, pleading and demanding all at once. "Tell us what you know. You must know something. Aren't you a brave one?" Nathan chuckled, shaking his head at her. "But bravery can be reckless. People often get hurt, maybe even killed, when they poke around where they don't belong." The stranger's hand brushed against Sophia's as if to anchor both of them. "This isn't a game," he said, his voice low but firm. "You think it's just about you and me, Nathan? You think it's just your empire to toy with?" Nathan's eyes narrowed, the glint of malice returning. "You're absolutely right. It's not just about me." He pointed toward Sophia, a cruel smile creeping across his face. "It's about every person who plays their role in my world. And you," he chuckled darkly, "you shouldn't have stepped into the spotlight." In an instant, the atmosphere thickened. It felt as if the walls were closing in, the extravagant decor of the restaurant now suffocating. The glances exchanged among the crowd turned anxious as they sensed the volatility brewing. "What do you mean?" Sophia's voice trembled slightly, betraying her composure. The stranger's grip tightened on her hand. "Let's just say," Nathan said, stepping closer, his voice dropping to a conspiratorial whisper, "our dear friend here isn't the only one with secrets. This incident, well, let's just be clear, it has nothing to do with just him. It's much, much bigger. The stranger clenched his jaw, his eyes blazing. You're bluffing. Oh, am I? Nathan raised an eyebrow, clearly relishing the tension, the thrill of being in control. I'd tread lightly if I were you. Lives are on the line, and you might find your integrity is a heavy price to pay. Unexpectedly, the restaurant door slammed open, and a burly figure stumbled in, drenched in sweat, panicked. The patrons gasped, shifting in their seats. We need to get out, now. The figure shouted, eyes wide with fear. Looks like we're in for a show after all, Nathan sneered, the excitement dancing in his eyes. The stranger turned to Sophia, uncertainty weaving through their connection. Are you ready? He asked, the urgency palpable between them. She swallowed hard, her heart racing as the gravity of the moment settled in. There's no more time to think. He nodded, determination returning to his gaze as they both stepped toward the chaotic scene at the door. But would they be walking into the heart of danger? Would they be ready for whatever truth awaited them on the other side? As they neared the exit, the air grew tense again, leaving them both wondering what was waiting outside for them. The moment they burst through the door, the chaos hit them like a tidal wave. Wind whipped around them, carrying the sharp scent of gasoline and smoke mingled with the unmistakable tang of fear. A crowd had formed outside, everyone shouting and pointing. What's happening? Sophia shouted over the din, her heart pounding in her chest. The burly figure that had entered the restaurant stood frozen near the entrance, eyes wide, breathless. They're coming. They've got guns. He turned, locking eyes with the stranger. We have to suddenly, an explosion of noise erupted from a nearby alley. Shattered glass and a thunderous roar sent a shockwave through the crowd. People screamed, scattering in all directions. Down! Get down! The stranger grabbed Sophia and pulled her behind a parked car, his body shielding hers. She felt the heat of the metal beneath her, the tremor of the ground shaking her to the core. What do you know? Sophia hissed, panic threading through her voice as she peered out from behind the vehicle. What's happening? I didn't know it was this bad, he whispered, eyes scanning for any signs of movement. Nathan, he's tied to something bigger than I thought. If they're here, his voice trailed off, realization dawning. Sophia's mind raced. Was Nathan really the puppet master, pulling the strings of something they didn't yet understand? Just then, shadows emerged from the alley, figures clad in dark clothing, weapons glinting in the streetlights. A pulse of dread ran through the crowd, a collective intake of breath that hung in the air. They're coming! The burly man yelled, his voice breaking. We have to get out of here. But where could they go? Sophia felt the ice of fear slither down her spine, creeping closer with each heartbeat. Without warning, one of the armed figures pointed a gun, barking orders. Everyone, back against the wall. No one moves. Panic spread like wildfire, and she could see the faces of the terrified patrons, people who had once been caught up in their own lives, now thrown into the chaos. The weight of that moment pressed down on Sophia. Each person had a story, and now they were all in danger because of the games Nathan played. Stay close to me, the stranger urged, his voice steady. But his eyes betrayed a world of uncertainty. As they crouched together behind the car, Sophia's thoughts fired off in every direction. Did Nathan want to silence them? Did they know too much? This wasn't just about survival anymore. It was about the truths lurking in the shadows. We have to find something we can use, she whispered urgently. There has to be a way to turn this around. The stranger nodded, the fire of determination ignited within him again. I'll cover you. You need to get to the others. We can't leave them. The burly man had gone quiet, drawn a short distance away from them, scanning the chaos. Sophia's heart started to race anew. What if they find us? She breathed, the fear sinking deeper. Fight or flight, right? He said, a hint of a smile breaking through the turmoil. I might just outsmart Nathan yet. Before she could respond, a gunshot rang out, piercing the night air. A man fell to the ground, cries erupting from the crowd. The sight froze her blood. Go, now! The stranger shouted, pushing her toward the back of the car. Time was slipping through her fingers. Choices clashed in her mind as she turned to the chaos surrounding her. Would she cling to hope or let fear dictate her next move? She took a breath, adrenaline flooding her veins. We need a plan, she said, determination sharpening her tone. As their eyes met, both knew that whatever lay ahead would change the course of their lives forever. But just as they prepared to make their next move, another shadow shifted in the distance, a familiar figure emerging from the alley. Was it friend or foe? Who had the upper hand now? Sophia squinted into the darkness, her heart hammering as she tried to make out the figure emerging from the shadows. It was too dim to see details, but the gait looked familiar, almost comforting against the sea of chaos surrounding them. Who is it? The stranger whispered, tension coiling between his shoulders. She couldn't quite place the slight silhouette. But then, as the figure stepped into a slant of harsh light cast from a broken street lamp, recognition washed over her with a mix of relief and dread. It was Nathan. Why is he here? Sophia muttered, panic starting to creep in again. The crowd had begun to settle into a stunned silence, their eyes darting between weapons and the familiar face. A whirlwind of confusion swirled within her. Was he here to help them escape or to ensure their silence? Nathan! What is happening? She yelled, the urgency in her voice echoing below the chaos. That he lifted his hands slowly, palms out. I'm not here to hurt anyone. Please, just listen. He called out, his voice cutting through the thick air. The armed figures seemed to hesitate, their grips on their weapons faltering. It was a fleeting moment of hope. Sophia turned to the stranger beside her, desperation glimmering in her eyes. Can he be trusted? Before he could answer, one of the gunmen shouted, "Shut up. We don't negotiate with traitors." He stepped forward, finger twitching on the trigger. Wait. Sophia pleaded, feeling the weight of 1,000 fears crushing her chest. You don't have to do this. Not a deafening shot rang out. Gone was her hope, replaced by a cold, sickening dread. Sophia gasped, her heart leaping into her throat as the crowd's murmur turned into horrified screams. Nathan collapsed to the ground, the life leaving his eyes. Time stood still for a cruel second before the chaos erupted anew, people scrambling to escape. The armed figures moved like wolves, searching for their prey. It's not safe, we have to move. The stranger shouted, pushing Sophia along. But her legs felt rooted to the spot, her mind racing. Nathan was gone. His life was worth more than this. She cried, tears spilling down her cheeks. The enormity of Nathan's betrayal twisted the knife deeper. Had he been part of this all along? Had he led them into this trap? We can't dwell on that now. The stranger urged, pulling her back into reality. We've got to find a way out before we're next. They ducked low, weaving through shouting bodies. Each jarring explosion of chaos sent her heart racing faster. She knew time was slipping away. Her breaths came in ragged gasps, a knot of fear tightening around her chest. Then, she spotted something in the wreckage, a metal pipe, gleaming menacingly amid the debris. There was potential for defense or even offense. Her heart raced with newfound determination. The pipe. If we can get to it. But just as they turned toward the weapon, a shadow loomed larger than life before them. One of the gunmen had spotted them. You! Stop right there! He barked, raising his weapon again. Sophia's breath hitched, fear gripping her throat. They were cornered. There's no way out. The stranger gasped, fear seeping into his voice. What now? In that electric moment of terror, something snapped within her. The instinct for survival ignited a fire in her belly. Fight! She shouted, her voice louder than the gunfire around them. "We fight." As the gunman advanced, Sophia grabbed the pipe, swinging it with all her strength. Would it connect? Could they turn the tide? And in the midst of the fray, another shadow moved, more figures emerging from the darkness, marching straight toward them. Were they reinforcements or an entirely different threat? "Who are they?" she shouted, locking eyes with the stranger, uncertainty blanketing the air. All she could do was wait for the answer that would determine their fate. The figures in the shadows drew closer, and Sophia strained to see who they were. Were they allies, or worse, more threats? Her heart raced, palpable fear contrasting against the adrenaline surging through her veins. The gunman loomed larger, and she could see the glint of malice in his eyes as he aimed. The stranger beside her tensed, his expression a mixture of resolve and alarm. "Get ready!" he shouted, but she could hardly focus on anything but the encroaching shadows hot on her trail. Then she heard the unmistakable sound of footsteps, heavy boots hitting the cracked pavement. A glimmer of metal flashed in the dim light, and a voice cut through the noise, low and menacing. "Put down your weapons. Now." Sophia's stomach nodded as she recognized the new arrivals. They were dressed in dark uniforms, the emblem of a notorious faction she had tried to escape. "No," she whispered, dread washing over her. The tension erupted as the gunman hesitated, throwing a glance toward the new figures advancing on him. The armed soldiers were big and relentless, like shadows breathing down their necks. "Bad choice, traitor," one shouted at the gunman, his weapon drawn and aimed. "You've messed with the wrong crowd." The gunman glanced between the two groups, calculating his options. "We don't want any trouble," he said, but the quiver in his voice didn't sound convincing. Instinctively, Sophia pressed closer to the stranger, their bodies almost touching for safety. "Think we can use this?" she whispered, nodding to the pipe still clenched in her hands. He nodded, his jaw set, but before they could strategize, chaos erupted. The gunman raised his weapon, firing wildly in a panic. The crowd screamed again, the deafening sound merging with the sharp crack of gunfire. Adrenaline surged through Sophia's body, and she swung the pipe with ferocity, making contact with the first henchman that tried to seize her. The metallic clang rang in her ears, and for a moment, she felt invincible, powerful. The stranger followed her lead, darting forward. They were no longer just survivors, they had become fighters. Amid the confusion, the initial terror slowly morphed into a primal instinct to survive. "Keep moving. We can't stay here," he shouted, pushing her toward an alley that flickered with the promise of escape. She nodded, her heart pounding as she fought her way through the throngs of chaos. But just when they thought they could regain control, a shrill shriek pierced the air. It was a woman, pleading for help, caught in the path of the chaos unfolding. A flash of recognition hit Sophia hard. The woman was someone she had met before, someone who had spoken to her about a safe place, a sanctuary in the city. "Wait!" she yelled, breaking away from her companion and running toward the woman. "I can't leave her." "No. Sophia, come back." The stranger shouted, his voice filled with panic. She could feel the weight of his eyes on her, but the urgency to help the woman overwhelmed every ounce of fear. When she reached her, the woman's eyes were wide with terror, glasses askew and clothes disheveled. "I'm here. Let us go." Sophia yelled, grabbing her arm, but before they could escape, a figure emerged from the smoke. Nathan's face filled her mind, his betrayal still fresh, but his presence solidified her resolve. "Together!" she cried, knowing they had to fight as one. With one last glance over her shoulder, she took a breath, ready to unleash rage against their assailants. But just then, the retreating gunman fired another shot. The world froze around them. Did that shot find its mark? The air crackled with disbelief and fear, and Sophia clenched her eyes shut, waiting for the impact. The sound of chaos faded. Would this be the end? And in that moment, she realized one truth: some battles are fought from within, decisions made in the heart determine their fate far beyond this night. The darkness held its breath, waiting for what would be revealed next. Time stretched as the gunman's shot echoed through the chaos. The street fell silent, an eerie calm hovering just above the clamor that had subsided into disbelief. The world around Sophia swayed like a dream teetering on the edge of nightmares. Heart pounding, she held her breath, willing herself to stay grounded, to understand what had just happened. The woman's grip on her arm tightened, pulling her closer. "What are we waiting for?" she yelled, her voice rising above the panic, but Sophia couldn't tear her eyes away from the doorway where the gunman had stood moments before. Had he been shot? Suddenly, the fray erupted again. Soldiers shouted orders, their voices booming like a drum, and the remaining henchmen scrambled, confused by the sudden shift in power. "Get the civilians out." One soldier barked. The stranger who had fought alongside Sophia was already shoving his way toward her. "We need to move now." His eyes were frantic, pleading with her to shake off the shock. She yanked her gaze away and registered the woman at her side, fear etched in her face. "This way," Sophia urged, pulling her into the alley, the stranger following close behind. They ducked into the shadows just as gunfire erupted again, only this time, aimed at the remnants of the panicking group. The alley was narrow, a tight corridor between buildings that felt more like a trap than sweet refuge. Sophia clenched her pipe, ready to fight if any threat followed. "Do you know where to go?" the stranger gasped, his breath heavy as they darted deeper into the darkness. "There's a safe house, a place I know," the woman interjected, her voice trembling as she glanced anxiously back towards the chaos unfolding outside. "But it's risky." "Risky?" Sophia shot back, adrenaline making her voice sharp. "Nothing's more risky than staying here. Do you not understand?" the woman cried, her panic flooding the narrow space. "They'll find us. They have eyes everywhere." Sophia swallowed hard as the tension enveloped them. The truth clawed at her throat. She had run from this faction, fought hard to survive the consequences. She looked at the stranger, who met her gaze, his face lined with determination despite the fear. "Let's take the chance," he urged softly, yet firmly. "If we stay lost in this maze, we'll be easy picking. Together, we can reach the sanctuary. It's our only shot." As the sounds of chaos bled through the air, Sophia's mind raced. She could turn away, for the shadows loomed larger with every passing moment, the choice gnawing at her gut. The safe house, it was a flickering flame in the dark, a promise of hope. "Lead the way," she said, her voice steady despite the storm raging inside. Before they could catch their breath, they heard the footsteps grow louder. "They're coming," the stranger hissed, urgency igniting within him. They had to make a choice now, to forge ahead into the unknown or hold their ground in the panic. With a quick nod, the woman took off, leading them through a narrow door that creaked ominously open. The stranger followed closely, and to Sophia, each step felt like it might be her last. But as they made their way down a hidden passage, she couldn't shake the feeling of being watched, the weight of unseen eyes sending chills creeping down her spine. The darkness wrapped around them like a shroud, creeping into her thoughts. Was betrayal lurking just around the corner? And as they rounded a corner, a silhouette appeared, shrouded in darkness. "Who goes there?" a voice growled, and Sophia's heart dropped. This wasn't over yet. Was this their sanctuary, or another trap waiting to snap shut around them? She steadied herself, preparing for the unknown, the very heartbeat of panic echoing in her ears. What lay ahead could change everything. Would they find protection, or be swept back into the chaos? And in that moment, another truth crashed like thunder in her mind: sometimes, safety is just an illusion away from danger. What more could they unearth in this city of shadows? Time stood still in that dim hallway as the silhouette moved closer, blocking their escape. Sophia's pulse hammered in her ears, drowning out every sound except the rhythm of dread that danced beneath her skin. She could feel the stranger beside her tense, his muscles coiling like a spring, ready to fight or flee. The air thickened with electricity, a pulsing reminder that safety was just a breath away or a heartbeat to disaster. "Who goes there?" The voice demanded again, sharper this time, echoing off the walls like a gunshot. The figure stepped into the dim light, features sharpened by the shadows. A man in a maintenance uniform stood before them, the insignia on his chest not quite matching the usually pristine environment. He looked around cautiously, glancing at the frantic trio, and an eyebrow arched with skepticism. "You're not supposed to be here," he said, his posture relaxing slightly as he sized them up. It was a moment teetering on the edge, like a tightrope walk over a chasm of fear. The stranger stepped forward. "We need help. It's chaos out there," he said, urgency crackling in his voice. "We have people hunting us." The man's eyes flickered, assessing the sincerity of the plea, and that hesitation felt like time dragging. "Are you with them?" The maintenance worker shot back, suspicion coiling his words. "You shouldn't be here if you're looking to make a deal." He glanced over his shoulder, eyes darting, clearly wary of anyone overhearing their conversation. "No!" Sophia exclaimed before she could quell her desperation. "We aren't with anyone. We're just trying to survive this nightmare." For a heartbeat, silence enveloped them. The man's gaze softened, clouds of uncertainty passing through turbulent skies. "Can't be too careful," he muttered, glancing quickly at the door as muffled voices crept around the edges, taunting them with uncertainty. "But fine. Come on. This way." He ushered them down the hallway, urgency fueling their steps as they turned corner after corner. Sophia felt each second tick by, the fear of discovery creeping down her spine. What would this stranger do if they found Nathan's people? He led them through steely doors and quiet passageways, the air growing thicker with the scent of machinery. Voices echoed distantly, but here, it felt morbidly safe, a hideaway building disguised by the facade of normality. Emerging into a dimly lit room, the stranger nodded toward the corner, where battered chairs and scattered tools lay in disarray. "You can stay here for now. This back corridor leads to a service exit. You'll have to make a run for it once you're ready." "Ready?" Sophia repeated, heart racing. "Ready for what?" "Ready to face whatever's out there," he replied, his voice resolute but tinged with resignation. The stranger leaned against the wall, suffused with a quiet rage that flared beneath the surface. "We have to handle what's waiting outside, otherwise, we'll just be hunted until there's nothing left." Their eyes locked, and in that moment, Sophia felt a wellspring of connection. Their fates were intertwined. "What do you mean? You make it sound like we're not just running." She swallowed hard as a slew of visceral panic swept over her. This wasn't a game, but a reflection of their strength. As they stood there, she began to understand they had been thrust into battle long before this night, tossed into a fight not of their choosing. "No," he said, his voice thick with intensity. "We need to expose the truth. Use whatever leverage we have to stop Nathan's empire from consuming everyone." They had a choice now. Would they allow fear to lead them into the jaws of despair, or could they seize back their narrative, to channel their pain into something righteous? Sophia felt the stirring of bravery within her, solidarity sparked in that dark moment. "I won't hide anymore," she declared, voice unraveling the knot of anxiety. "No, neither will I," the stranger echoed, words filled with unyielding strength. Suddenly, crashing boots resonated outside the door, a tumult of urgency striking through their moment. "We need to get moving," the maintenance worker said urgently. "They're closing in. If you want to make a stand, do it now." His words were an explosive call to action. Panic moiled in the air, but with it came a rising tide of determination. Breaths quickened, fear ravaged them all as they realized the moment had arrived. Sophia took a deep breath, wiping tears from her cheeks. "Together?" she asked, searching for courage in the stranger's eyes. "Together," he affirmed, a flicker of defiance igniting between them, and that was it. The three of them bolted toward the exit, hearts pounding synchronicity with the rhythm of rebellion. Outside the door, the street loomed beneath the night sky, dark, risky, laced with the unknown. But as they burst into the open air, every ounce of fear faded and resolve surged. Stay close. The stranger shouted, leading them down the alley, adrenaline coursing through their veins, hearts matching the tempo of their footsteps. The acrid scent of danger was tangible, like smoke lingering after a fire, but Sophia felt a fierce flicker of hope, a stubborn light pressing against the darkness. As they maneuvered through the chaos, eyes darting to the shadows, their path set, the world opened up, a tapestry woven into something new. They stood on the precipice of change, woven together by their choices. The fight was not just theirs, but everyone's, trapped in Nathan's web, and in that moment, they knew they wouldn't back down. Here came the dawn, casting light on the shadows of oppression. They were becoming something far greater than fear, they were becoming warriors. Now, the world awaited. And they had work to do. If you've enjoyed this epic journey and want to know what happens next, you need to subscribe now. Don't wait even one more second. Smash that like button to let us know you loved it. We want to hear your thoughts. Flood the comments with your reactions and theories about Sophia and the stranger. And this is the moment to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this amazing conclusion. Your support means everything.